This whole world dead right now.
Uh-huh.
We just went to Vegas. There was nobody there. The Peppermill restaurant's closed at midnight 2 days in a row. Have you ever been there?
I haven't been there.
It's like 10 movies filmed there.
Should I chew my gum like this?
Nobody there. You know the rules. It's right. That's that military background. You snap right into the line, man, once the authority comes out. All right, so we got 3 Jags in the Lab, episode 2. We just got Charlie back in town. Ron's here. We're going to have Mark come in later. I wanted to talk about some things here. First of all, I want to talk about the Steelers and what's going on. We have game 1. What do you think is going to happen this year with them?
To be honest with you, I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I think we're all going to figure it out on Sunday. Biggest question mark right now is the offensive line. And that's something that, when you look at what was once the strength over the years, now, unfortunately, it's not. And they finished 32nd in the league rushing last year. You have 5 new starters up front. It's going to be interesting. So it's going to be a matter of whether they could gel right away.
What about Ben in his old age?
No, Ben will be fine. He'll be fine. And you add Najee Harris behind him now to take the pressure off of him. If you can add the running game to it. And if they can do it, yeah, it's going to open it up and it's going to allow for him to now use those play action and get down the field a lot more than what he should.
What about his physical, now? Like I was just reading an article that said he's getting in his old age and they're not comparing him to Brady and some of the greatest. I mean, it's a Pittsburgh guy. I think he's one of the greatest.
No, and he is. And I think a lot of times, of course, age is going to catch up with all of us at some point. Brady had just figured out a way to kind of defy the odds at whatever he is, 42, 43, 44 at this point. So, yeah, we hear of him talking about him playing until he's close to 50. And that's probably realistic for him, especially the way that the rules are. But I think when you look at just the way that people, every other quarterback plays, and Ben was a guy that kind of moved around a lot more than what Brady is. So it's going to be ultimately up to, how his body reacts. Can I see him being in Pittsburgh after this year? Absolutely, I can. But I think a lot of it depends on how they unfold this year.
He's tough. When I was in college, I used to gamble a lot. And I would bet against him playing at, where was he? At Ohio?
Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. He beat every single spread against even the Division I teams. That was the first thing I ever said to him. Hey, so this is a funny story. Remember the night that, well, I guess it was the year that Ben went in early for, I think it was Tommy Maddox, right? Went undefeated pretty much. And then we played the Patriots in the AFC Championship.
Correct.
Well, that night after we lost, typical Pittsburgh fans started threatening Ben via phone calls and stuff on his front porch and all that. So he called the security company I was working for, Guardian at the time. And me and my Uncle Larry went out. And it was cool because we had to hang out with him and all that. I made a mistake. I looked at him and I said, Ben, you cost me so much money. And his face went like this, like, because it was, the night before they just lost the biggest game of his life. And I said, no, not last night. I didn't bet him last night. Specifically against Ohio or Iowa back in college when you managed to cover like a 20-point spread against them being in that. So anyway, he was amazing.
Oh, he'll tell you those stories, not necessarily the gambling piece, but when he played against Ohio, because he had, I think it was an 80-yard run in that game, 70 or 80-yard run. And Bob Sanders, who was one of the great safeties in this league that played with the Colts, he was on that Iowa defense. So he'll pull up the video of it and be like, look, yeah, future NFL player right there. And he's out running players as well. But he has an 80-yard run under his resume, which is pretty impressive.
That's pretty against a Division I team.
Yeah, absolutely.
With
Power 5 conference. And anytime you're coming out of Mid-American Conference, which I was at Eastern Michigan, that's a big deal when you can go to a Power 5 at that point and be able to be producing in that manner.
It's true. Speaking of Michigan, you're famous in Michigan pretty much. This guy is now too, huh?
I don't know about famous.
So I was supposed to speak there, right? Because I was I'm the famous guy.
Yeah.
Outside of Charlie, I'm the famous.
You're the good-looking guy.
So what happened was I had something that came up, and I had to throw Ron in there. And now Ron's all over the place. He's getting all these podcasts. They're inviting him to all these dinners. You feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I threw my scraps.
Yeah, your scraps. Thanks, Russ. So modest.
So how'd it go?
Well, I've had a couple.
So hold on. So let's talk about what it was, the event that you went to, and then you can talk about how it went.
I haven't gone yet.
It's not yet.
It's coming up.
End of the month.
End of the month.
It's coming up.
3 days at the what's that casino?
The Soaring Eagle.
Soaring Eagle Casino looks pretty nice. So it's
so that's up in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a
it's the Michigan State Bar Association. wants me to speak, and then I had to give it to you
on cannabis. So it's not the first time I've presented to the state bar of Texas before, but this is the first time.
And you'd be a way better person to talk anyways. We joke around about it, but that's when they asked me, I'm like, look, you guys got to talk to Ron instead. They're like, nah. I said, look, I'm like the guy that breaks the law, not speaks to the lawyers.
Yeah.
And she said, doesn't matter. You're funny and all that. I could knock it out of it.
So for people who are listening, when is that? When you say end of the month, do you have the dates exactly?
Yeah, it'll be the 24th and 25th of September. So I'm going to head up on the 23rd, and my part is actually pretty simple. I'm just part of a council of experts that each have a different background. So mine's being in regulatory and forensic or testing of cannabis products. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not presenting this time, so it'll be more of a Q&A.
Okay.
And so I'm looking forward to it, but there's really nothing I need to do to prepare. Just show up, be able to answer questions. And, I fed them a few, setup questions already, and I think it'll be a good time.
I mean, remember, this is the guy that's been on Forensic Files multiple times.
Now, I was going to say, I mean, for people who haven't had a chance to get your autograph or pictures, should they do it before or after the event?
That's right. Only $5 for an autograph. So it's a pretty good
$5
deal.
before the event, maybe 10 after.
Probably. Yeah, probably. We'll see how it goes.
Great moment in hemp synergistic history. Charlie comes into the office for the first time, and we're talking and just BSing. And I don't know what brought up Forensic Files.
We were actually at lunch, or was it dinner?
We were at dinner, and I was talking about some of the shows I watch, and I'm like, oh yeah, I watch Forensic Files all the time. And I'm kind of setting it up, and you're talking. You realize that there was an instance where they were looking for, I think it was a gun. They were shooting a gun in a barrel or a gun in water.
Yeah.
And you were like, for real? Tell me more. And I'm like telling his story, and then he's like, yeah, that was me.
like where everyone's getting a picture with Charlie. Charlie's like, I want a picture with Ron. Ron was like, this is the greatest day of his life.
Well, you know what I said? I said, it's funny. I remember way back in the day sitting there watching the Steelers play, watching Charlie Batch, and I never once thought that someday Charlie Batch would be watching me on TV.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
that was a big deal.
Small world.
You see how he let me gas him out for a little bit. Now go continue. Yeah. Because I'm really unsure what episode you're talking about. Then he popped his collar.
Yeah, exactly.
That was me, by the way.
Was it the one where I did the gunshot direction and then we had to talk about the splatter? Yeah, I remember that one.
Pretty much famous. Yeah. Almost famous.
Yeah. That is pretty famous, though. I mean, when Charlie Batch notices you, because that's what he uses to go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you talk at the office and we start falling asleep.
Apparently, I put people to sleep.
It wasn't that. Obviously, I saw that episode. I saw that portion of the show before I went to sleep. So trust me, I saw it wasn't just like I was making a story. Yeah.
Well, no, I believe that narrator on that show. I don't remember his name, but he's got that soothing voice that
Vincent Price
like
type thing. Oh, yeah, that was kind of scary. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and then I don't know what happened to him, but he stopped being the narrator at some point. So
it's the end of it.
Yeah.
So while we were talking about NFL, so let's go back to that. What's their stance right now on CBD?
Well, I think right now they're all just kind of continuing to do the research, and once the data kind of comes back, and then ultimately, I think it's going to be making a move in the right direction as it relates to allowing players to ultimately use it. So
but they're saying right now, like it's not approved for use. Are they looking the other way, or are they specifically saying no CBD in the NFL?
Well, I mean, of course, they're always going to say no CBD or no THC and those type of things. But I think ultimately they're loosening their stance on it, and you start to see other organizations, universities starting to do more research on this in this particular space. So I think ultimately their ears and eyes are open to the point where they're at least going to listen to say, okay, this is what we're looking to move forward. So it's already happening because you do have players who with endorsement deals that are out there, and the league kind of press the pause button on that at one point. But I think ultimately they're heading in the direction where they're going to allow.
Yeah, because there was a couple guys that got grandfathered in before they caught it.
Correct.
It out. Yeah.
Correct.
And then THC, when do you think?
To be honest with you, I don't know. And I think ultimately, when you're dealing with only 31 owners, they get to control kind of what they want within their organization. So will they allow THC at some point? Possibly, but I don't know if it's definitely not going to happen this year, no time soon. But I think it's just a matter of, continuing those conversations, mainly in the off season, to kind of figure out what that looks like so they can kind of put the testing in order.
Now, is Goodell, is he like the impediment, or is it just, is it like his decision?
Well, he's going to look at the data, but ultimately, yes, he'll make the final decision, but the data is going to tell the story. So I think that's where you ultimately have to you allow that whole process to kind of play itself out.
It's good. So I got a question for you. So we were watching the game. I thought you did excellent. You're with Pompiani. I'm friends with his brother Bruce, by the way. Shout out to Bruce, the lesser known Pompiani. What's up with this troll on Facebook that keeps talking shit?
Well, I think it's multiple people, but
I noticed the one guy, Mike. I don't notice any other people.
Generate conversation. Just like, hey, I saw the comment. Let's talk. And of course, they always kind of fall back a little bit. They never want to follow back up on a comment that they initially made.
Exactly.
So it's all in fun.
So I don't know if you know the story, but this troll keeps coming, and I don't even look at Facebook that much, but for some reason on his posts it pops up. So I go on and I see this guy talking all this shit, and I thought, what is this guy doing? Hey, Charlie's an excellent dude. He's just one of those Monday morning quarterbacks,
Yeah, it's jelly.
So I said to Charlie, you want me to say something to this guy? He said, no. I asked him a question. I don't think he's going to answer it. I said, well, I'm going to come back and ask him a question if he doesn't. So I came back to make sure. He still never had answered.
Yeah, he still never answered. It was essentially, he made a comment to say, hey, in the final preseason game, he's like, man, if Charlie says it'd be interesting to hear what Mike Tomlin thinks at this point, I don't know what he said. Like, I'm gonna go crazy.
That's what he said. He said, if I hear it one more time, I'm gonna go crazy.
I'm like, at this point, my response back to him was, well, you have 20 people essentially vying for 5 spots. How else would you like me to say that when you're talking about these particular 20 players in a 4-quarter game without annoying somebody like that? That was my question to him. If you can feed that, if you can give me the answer back, I'm okay with that. But he has yet to respond.
Are you covering the game?
I'm covering the game, yes.
Then I don't care what he thinks.
Exactly.
You're covering the game. But you're the one.
But you always go back. There's always film review. You go back and figure out what you can do better. I'm that type of person because that was the industry I was in. You play the game, you get critiqued on Monday, and then you have to hear about it for the next 48 hours. That's just what it is, good, bad, or indifferent. So when you get to that point, it's like, okay, let me figure this out. I just want to hear the comment back to say, what would you like to hear that I can say differently 20 times?
But he doesn't have.
So he has to give me 20 different answers because obviously the one is not going to work because if I say it more than once, it annoys somebody like him.
Circle back to it. We'll put a pin in it. Come back to that one later.
But some of those guys, you never, a lot of people haven't been in that situation where you're literally, vying for your job on the spot. And when you're in that 4th preseason game, the pressure is there. You start to see people separate themselves when it comes to that, but ultimately it's that impacts their job. This is personal. So you don't want to say anything negative from that perspective, but as that game unfolds, man, if I don't play well, I'm cut tomorrow. Most people can't deal with that. And then ultimately when you lose your job, then it's printed and it's all on social media. So the whole country knows that in some cases, the world knows you lost your job. That's insulting for some people.
And I remember you talking a while back, what happens to a player when that happens? And you said, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said it's like 16 months sometimes before they realize that's the end.
That's it, because that whole cycle repeats itself. So you saw a wave of player get released, and then ultimately they're now working out, waiting for that phone call. And then ultimately, if they don't get picked up, they're picked up in the off season, let's say March. You go through that whole cycle, and then guess what? Next August, if they don't make the team, they get released, and then they'll train again for the next 4 months. So ultimately, it takes about 16 to 18 months for somebody to kind of realize that, okay, maybe my career is over. So you never want to, stop somebody from living out their dream, but also there is a reality of starting that next career as it relates to whatever that may be. And it's a tough challenge because when you've been playing football for so long, man, it's tough to have somebody tell you that it's over.
That's hard to comprehend, that you'd have to wait that long to realize that it's not going to happen. I mean, it's got to be, I don't think people understand the pressure.
Well, some of it's in denial.
Yeah.
But ultimately you're like, man, I don't want to give up on my dream.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, are you fully ready to transition when you've been doing it for so long? And I just look at myself and I'm like, I started playing football when I was 7. I finished when I was 38. So you tell me for 31 years, all I did was play football. I was controlled by a coach. I was in training camp, all of those type of things. And even though I played 15 years, I still wanted 16. I still wanted to come back and get that extra one. And they're like, well, let's just kind of hold off. We may or may not bring you back. But I knew it was time for me to go. Here I was 38, expiring contract. We just missed the playoffs. we're probably, I think at that time we were the oldest team in the league. And when you miss the playoffs, you go 8-8. Guess what? They have to revamp. You know, and all those players that were there were just 2 years removed from the Super Bowl team. So when you lose the Super Bowl, they eventually bring you back. They give you a chance to kind of run it back. And when you fall short and you don't win a playoff game, it's over. And I knew that. I knew that it was happening.
Well, to Mike on Facebook, I would love to have you on this podcast so you could do Monday morning quarterback to 3 dudes that can actually respond in real time as opposed to hide behind your computer. Facebook Mike. So last time you were here, we gave you CBN brownies. And listen, I apologize for them being crunchy because it was probably a couple of days in that fridge. Do you remember how they made you feel? The sleeping brownies? Did you eat them?
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I was sleeping.
Because that's your first thing. I'm thinking, man, that's my mom's Tupperware that I gave you. You better remember that.
And actually, no, it really worked. It worked well. And that was something I'm like, I hope mom makes them again. I'm ready for, that particular.
Then Kat's going to do it. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we have Kat over here on the switcher. And, while we had another cat in the office the other day, and I introduced this cat as Kat. Or no, I introduced this cat to this cat, and I called her other cat. Oh, that was the dumbest thing I could have done.
Don't want to do it.
Angry.
She went off right there. Look, she's other cat. And I said, listen, I obviously said cat with a C for you and cat with a K for her, but you couldn't catch it.
Let's be real. When you learn how to spell cat, you learn CAT. That's it.
It's true.
I'm just saying that maybe you should have apologized to her. That's all.
Other cat.
Just throwing that out there.
Other cat's
she's primo cat.
Primo cat.
The
First cat. Number 1 cat.
There is no other.
The cat.
Right.
So on that note with the brownies and how we make stuff, people always ask us, what's it like to work around here? Like, what do you guys do? And I thought it would be a good example to tell the story of when we first took residence at this office. So I've been paying attention to this one chemical called dimethyl sulfoxide. I'm like in love with it. So we decided we were going to mix it with CBD because I had a feeling that because I was gargling with it before vocal practice, and then I would put topical CBD on my throat, and I noticed that I didn't have to do many vocal warm-ups. So I said to Ron, what if we just mixed it together? And he took it and he looked at the molecular structure and he says, yeah, this will mix with CBD, no problem.
Yeah.
He said, what mixture do you want? I said, I don't know. He said, well, you got to go into the scientist. You got to hand it to her, the ingredients, and say, this is what you want. So I picked a number out of thin air, 75% DMSO, 25% CBD. And we did the whole mixing right there. And, all the molecules did what they were supposed to do. And then we were rubbing it on topically because that's what I told the office. This is a topical.
Yeah, you told me it was going to be a topical.
Yeah, well, I had to say what I had to say to get it out of the office.
Yeah, you kind of tricked me on that.
So I went home and I went up in the studio and I put about, a shot glass worth. I'm gargling it and I swallowed it. And everything's going good until about 5 minutes later when all of a sudden I started getting this major cramp in my stomach. And I tried to sing through it like no big deal. And about 3 minutes after that, I was on the ground. I mean, literally, I couldn't even get off the ground. My stomach was I'm laughing because I did it to myself. And I'm thinking, what the heck's going on, right? So I got to go to the bathroom. I literally was stuck in the bathroom for 2 days straight. And it was like a whole different world of that. I called Ron. I said, I think it's detoxifying me. That's what I feel like. Because I've done other herbs and stuff that have done this mass cleaning of you, like insta-clean. And he says, no, what do you think? I poisoned myself.
Yeah, I called you an effing idiot and that you poisoned yourself.
And I kept coming back.
I still stand by that.
It said, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Well, here, 2 weeks later, another company in the same space as us that does the advanced stuff came up with an injectable CBD for specifically detox. So we were this close to being right on the cutting edge.
What are you talking about? And those two aren't even close. You drank DMSO.
Well, what happens is they did an injectable so they can get in the bloodstream fast, right? I put the DMSO in it to get it fast. It's a horrible idea. It was detoxifying. Okay.
You say DMSO, is that the horse?
Yep. Yeah.
Gel?
Yeah. You use it for.
I didn't use it, but when I was in Detroit, I remember our offensive linemen used to put it on their skin, and it absorbed, and then it started actually coming through their pores.
Yep.
And then when they were talking, it was coming through their breath as well, and it really stank. So these guys were in the huddle, and there was multiple linemen. So they step into the huddle, and I caught a whiff of it. It was like I walked right through when whatever he was saying. They were
It's like garlic.
Yes, and I just lost it. Like I started gagging.
Garlicky, right?
Yeah, I started gagging. I couldn't talk about the play. I'm already red to begin with. Just imagine me redder than what I already am. And I'm trying to step into the huddle to call the play, and I just couldn't say it. The coaches literally had to remove me from the huddle because I could not call the play because I was coughing so much as it entered in my system. So
which player?
It was tough. It was a guy by the name of Tony Simple. Actually, he was a guard, played guard. So it had to be 98, 99-ish.
All right, I want to have Tony on the show.
I'm surprised.
I got to ask him
about it. You remember, Charlie? You remember? Remember the time Charlie had walked through what you said?
You literally made him gag.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So what it is, it's approved for horse use, right?
Right.
And I think the government doesn't approve for human use because it works and it's cheap and it's easy. It's a byproduct of the paper industry. It comes from wood pulp. It's basically 60 sulfur compounds in a liquid. But yeah, it makes you stink. I had a toothache and I would rinse. We had the one Golden just had his wisdom teeth. Used it. His wisdom, his face is all. I said, swish with this DMSO. 10 minutes later, he goes, holy shit. Well, the whole office can smell it.
Did he drink it?
He spit it out.
Oh.
It was like acid on my throat for that.
Yeah, maybe. But it's I mean,
did you drink it?
No, I just let it sit on it and
See?
I spit it out.
Russ is the only one who drank.
I'll drink it.
I will to Russ. You were right. It did work.
Yeah, instant.
I did no longer have a sore throat the next day.
Yeah.
Like
It's the most amazing compound on this planet, and I'm behind it 100%. Danielle can tell when I walk. If I've had it the night before, she can tell I have it when I walk in. She goes, Did you do that?
We all can.
Why don't you say something? I thought for sure you're my wingman. You would tell me that.
Danielle and I are like office smellers, though.
You are office smellers.
We smell it all.
Oh yeah, Cat. Well, Cat can. Never mind. I'm not even gonna tell everybody. Okay. Hey, by the way, you missed a huge party the other weekend, huh?
Yeah.
You stopped a girl from almost killing herself. Remember the party?
Yeah. How?
She was going to drive.
Oh, well, yeah. She was trying to drink and drive, and I didn't stop her. Another guy did, but so I walk up to the front. She's like totally drunk. I mean, just way beyond. And so fortunately, they talked her out of trying to drive herself home. But I walk up, and the three of them are standing around her. She's sitting down. She can't stand up. And I'm like, guys, come on. She doesn't want this, 3 crotches in her face. So got him to take a step back and, got her to calm down. And
I'm pretty sure she ended up leaving later and someone hit somebody's car. I literally watched it as I was standing on the front yard.
I think a sober person drove her home. So
yeah, so it was somebody else.
Yeah, so she was okay, but yeah, that's all I knew about it.
If you could have lunch, not dinner, and specifically lunch, both you guys, with any person currently alive, who do you think it might be? Give it a second.
You want me to go first?
I know who mine is. Yeah.
Gary Sinise. Yeah.
With
Lieutenant
legs?
Dan. Huh?
As Lieutenant Dan with no legs?
No,
or
it's Gary Sinise.
Okay.
And not because he's an actor or anything, but because of all he does for the wounded veterans and the first responders. So I got mad respect for Gary Sinise.
That's right. At your party, we did the Gary Sinise donation.
Yeah, that was our fundraiser for our gigantic party. The one that almost killed me.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was a rocker, man.
It was nice.
What about you, Charlie? Any person? Lunch,
probably Warren Buffett.
Ah, that's a good one.
Oh yeah, nice.
I'll go there.
That's a good one. He'd be a wealth of intelligence. He's a fellow Virgo.
Figure out, his methods as he's, advising and kind of looking at deals and figuring out, okay, why would I want to buy Coca-Cola when I'm already profitable?
Right.
He does it, raises a cent per can and make it kill it.
Man, that is so
really?
true.
Like that's what you're doing. So yeah, I would love to be in the mindset of him and just listen to that wisdom. It may not even be a full 2-hour lunch. I just need 30 minutes. I just want to sit there and chop it up with him.
That's a good point you make about the penny. We were talking about Walmart today and how Walmart knows on Tuesday at 6:00, this certain demographic is going to come in. You can raise the canned beans by 2 cents, drop this other thing by 3 cents. They're going to go after that, see the beans and buy them. And they make $1 gazillion on the 2 cents from the Navy beans or whatever it is.
Yep.
Data king. Mine personally would be another Virgo, by the way. What's his name? Bill Murray.
Oh yeah, good call.
Can you imagine sitting at lunch with Bill Murray? Like he's so dry, he's so funny, and he doesn't care about whatever's going on.
Mm-mm.
I think he'd be worth it.
Not very nice.
No, I would dance with Bruno. I'll do anything else with Bruno. You know, and by the way,
I'm sure you would.
Pause.
Timberlake won here, but Bruno won online. What I miss?
You said I would do anything else with Bruno, and I said I'm sure you would.
And I said pause.
Yeah, it's bleep. All right, so we are going to. You have anything you want to say before we bring Mark on? Because we're in a hurry today because we have like the biggest meeting of all time coming up.
Yeah, it's a big meeting coming up.
Yeah.
No, I'm good, and nice seeing Charlie again. So
Likewise.
yeah, thanks for the picture. It's going on social media.
Let's do it.
You look good in that
You
shirt,
tag me
Ron.
on it too.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't look like what was it, a motorcycle repairman?
Well, I got a new haircut. I'm pretty happy about that. I think I'm settled on this style.
Did you use a Flowbee?
No, not this time. Not this time. It broke, so you know. Oh well, that's what happens.
What are the girls in your Tinder saying that you look unapproachable because you're so smart?
Yeah, I wish.
That's what they said. You look unapproachable, and we're trying to figure out why. Is it the beard? Is it was he wearing a lab coat?
Creepy.
Is it the pocket protector that you got on?
Pocket protector. I got a pen. I don't have a pocket protector.
Right.
Yeah, I have a question before I go. What the hell's up with all those beads around your neck and wrists and all that?
So I'm actually lead singer in a band. Okay, and Kat can attest to this. All my girls have surface area that they have taken up on my wrist. And the reason is, and this is no joke, they think I should be a hand model. This is a true story for whatever reason. So I won't put anything on my hands. This is the closest oceanfront property to it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Makes sense.
I got yours, other Cat, Seppi, and then I think she has 3 of them. So we got Mark Mangieri back.
Hello, everybody.
So you and I were at the White Label Convention in Vegas this week.
Good times.
What was the first of all, let's talk about Vegas. COVID killed Vegas. It's not the same. The Peppermill restaurant was closed 2 nights in a row, which I've been going there for 21 years, since I was 21.
Yeah.
Which was depressing.
Yeah.
They had to give tickets away to go into the convention, which was unfortunate. But what was the hottest product at the convention?
Well, us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of the same, a lot of tinctures, a lot of gummies, salves, lip balms, soap, a lot of soap.
Tons of
Soap was number one.
I got soap for
in terms
you
of
too,
quantity.
Charlie. New soap we brought back.
Some good soaps.
Yeah.
Not dogging on the quality of them.
We traded her a case of brownies for a case of soap at the end of the day. It was awesome. We had to carry soap home, which was unfortunate, but
with very few exceptions of the thousands of people that walked past our booth or stopped, almost every one of them did a double take. There's cookies.
There's cookies.
There's cookies and brownies. You got food. As if they said to themselves, well, yeah, that makes sense. Why are there not more of these here?
Exactly.
It was like the obvious progression. And the people who came to our booth who've been around before hemp immediately said, oh, wow, you took the next step already, because this is where it's going. And this is what we've been talking about for over a year now when we introduced the hemp bake mix. And I was happy to see that resonate with the general public and with the people who knew what they were doing. Equally important.
We would give people the brownie and we'd say, hey, listen, just come, if you're coming back tomorrow, let us know how you slept tonight. And 100% of the people that we remembered to ask said they had the best sleep of their life.
Nice.
Which was pretty awesome. Yeah. And the other thing was, wow, I can't even taste it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the first thing is, if you're going to make a product, be successful, that crosses all the barriers that any one genre has, and it's an edible or drinkable or whatever, it has to taste good. That's number one. But number two is it has to work, because I could sell anybody anything once, but the product has to sell itself over and over and over again. And this is the type of product that creates sticky customers. They come back. They'll go to that convenience store again. They'll go to that nutrition shop. They'll come back to our website and they'll buy again. And that's the mark of a good product.
Yeah.
Anytime you look at, I heard you guys talking about Coca-Cola and, Warren Buffett, what smart investors do is they invest in companies that create a following. And this is the type of product that will create a following. And it's not through magic or any sort of hyperbole or crazy advertising. It's just you're putting out a quality, great tasting, affordable product.
Well, and I mean, it works a lot better. So explain to everyone why CBD in food specifically is where it's headed, and the bioavailability that comes with.
Right. So we've talked about this before. In long story short, it's called intestinal lymphatic transport. And what it means is when a cannabinoid is combined with a dietary fat, the absorption rate skyrockets to about 10x. Now, this is compared to taking it on an empty stomach. Cannabinoids are a very concentrated form of a food, extremely concentrated. So your body wants to see it come into your body as a food item. But if it comes in as a concentrated tincture or a gummy on an empty stomach, your absorption rates are going to be very, very low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. But when you add it with a food or take it as a food, the multiple is up to 14x. 14x is the maximum. On average, it's like 8 to 10, just like a typical food that has maybe 8, 10 grams of fat.
Yeah, it's a major differential. And so I think what's interesting, if you look back in history, back to, I think 12,000 BC now is how far they found stuff back in Italy and China. We've been using hemp. We humans have been using hemp for that long, for textiles and food specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine it's in our diet until from 10,000 BC or 12,000 BC till 1937, when the U.S. government decides, hey, we're going to get rid of this stuff because we think it's bad. Back then, we died. So pre-1937, we died of pneumonia, typhoid fever, and maybe measles or something like that. I forget what the third one was. Now, without cannabis in our diet, we're dying of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and the fourth leading cause of death, opiate overdose, which is crazy. All four things in which the endocannabinoid system regulates. pH, alkalinity, which is related to cancer directly. You have it regulates your organs, which I assume has to do with heart disease, and then your body sugar, blood sugar, which is diabetes. So, and then we know when they legalize cannabis in the state, 25% of the overdose deaths fall off. So I think it's interesting, and that's why I think it's headed towards food for sure, because now we're dying of different things, and maybe that's just because it's not in our system.
Right. Yeah. The endocannabinoid system has gone unaddressed since 1937, when cannabis was made illegal. So it was turned into a scheduled drug. And again, prior to that, it was a food item in one way, shape, or form or another, whether it be through a tea or some sort of preparation. But it's been around for since the beginning of time, essentially.
Yeah.
Since the beginning of
They
history.
figured hemp out 4,000 years before they domesticated chickens. 3,000 years before they figured out rice in China.
Well, you guys were talking about who you'd like to have lunch with. Right?
Yeah.
My guy's Ben Franklin.
Okay, I said I live, but we'll go with that.
Okay. Well, okay. So, the founding fathers, specifically Franklin, because he was very, averse to arguments. He would never say the word no, or he'd avoid saying no. But I agree with you, what you're saying, and I'll take that thought and I'll bring it a step further. And he would steer towards him, and so being able to have that vision, and steer a conversation and understand beyond what's right in front of you is a high level of intelligence and hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the other things that he and others of his time recommended was grow hemp. Grow hemp. If anything,
That's
if
right.
you're going to be a farmer, which 95% of people were, make hemp part of your crop rotation.
They said it was what our country would be built on.
Yeah. And so it was that ingrained, and we forget. Humans have a very short-term memory. We forget quick. We have a whole generation of people who don't even know the details of 9/11. When we went to Las Vegas, I brought a box cutter on board with me, and I got pulled aside. Thankfully, I wasn't arrested, but it just goes to show you. And the guys checking me out were kind of laughing about it. They were all like 20 something. They were 5 years old when this all went down. So
Right.
we forget. And that's just an example of how things
It's like you forgot your watch on the thing. And for 10 minutes, we're sitting there at security trying to find this watch. He finally just says, what's a Sagittarius do when it can't find its watch after 5 minutes? Screw it. Let's leave.
Yeah. I like
Well, how much you pay for it? He's a couple $1,000. We'll stick around a few more minutes.
That's when you know you have a good insurance policy.
It's true. We should have thought about that.
I should put this on my insurance.
You're like, I don't know. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Somebody stole it.
But yeah, bringing it back to the original question and thought, hemp and all the cannabinoids deserve to be and are required to be in a food form. They work better that way, and they don't have to be more expensive.
Speaking of, how many states, because we get asked this a lot and it's moving all the time, how many states have legalized hidden food?
About 4 out of 5. About 4 out of 5 states. I think it's about 38 right now. A state like California, they have real specific rules that make it almost impossible. So there's some gray areas in states that you wouldn't think there'd be gray area. But through Middle America, there's some absolutely no, we're not doing it.
What about Michigan? Where Charlie and Ron are famous because maybe they could push it through.
Well, I don't have all the states memorized. I have some like New York, rock solid, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Michigan probably, but I'm not 100% sure.
Is it safe to say that states who have legalized marijuana would be able to use it?
No, because California has real specific rules on CBD and food, and it's really hard to get a CBD product as an edible in California.
Okay.
It's not a simple yes or no. The good news is that everybody is coming around, whether it be through an edible or just through more lax legislation. It's just California is one of the ones that's pretty much no, ironically. But Michigan seems to be
Pretty, yeah.
Yeah, I'll double check and we could put it in the notes or whatever.
Yeah. So we were talking with Ron earlier about what it's like to make products and stuff here.
Yeah. And
we had a funny experience with the nebula. Was it a nebulizer? Is that what we call it?
Kind of. Yeah, it was.
Tell Charlie what happened that day.
This is Allison.
Yeah.
So this is early days, and we were looking for unique delivery methods. We're not a Me Too company. We want to make things that are valuable and move the industry forward. And so we knew this absorption problem from the get, from the very start. And one way to bypass this massive loss in your intestines is to snort it or do a nasal spray. Now, a nasal spray has to be an OTC product, over the counter. So it's in between a nutraceutical or dietary supplement and a drug. It's somewhere in between. But we got some test nozzles, and what did we have in there? DMSO?
I just need water for example's sake, right?
We did water and something else. Okay. It was something really, really harsh.
It wasn't CBD?
It had to have been CBD, okay. And maybe it felt like something else.
Because that's what we do. I figured maybe that was it.
And so, like I said, this was in the early days. And our at the time, our VP of sales, which is my position now, but it was Allison Bentley. She was bringing her husband in for the first time and their kids. And Russ and I were at the front desk, when you walk in.
Laying on the floor.
Sitting on the floor. And we were like doing videos of the spray, the plume.
Slow-mos.
Yeah, we're doing slow-mo plume because it matters how this, when the spray comes out, it has to come out at a certain angle to get maximum coverage through your nasal cavity. And so we did it and we didn't have it all dialed in, and it shot like right into our brain. And we both went, like this.
Right as they walked in.
And we both turned around and both our eyes were water, and we looked like we just snorted something unholy.
Yeah.
Our face got all red. And
they were laying on the ground next to each other.
Yeah. It was
bad. Like, nice to meet you and the whole family. We're just snorting stuff.
VP of sales husband with our eyes watering and unable to talk.
And to get to that point, we literally drove across the street to Giant Eagle or whatever it was. Yeah. To their pharmacy. We bought every possible nasal spray that they had because we wanted to look at, who had what and where we could get these different plastic pieces and all that. And we never got there.
Needless to say, we punted.
Yeah.
And said, we'll just take defense for now.
Yeah, that was fun. You had to turn around and see. Oh, hi guys.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite superhero?
We talked about this before. Unfortunately, it's Superman.
Really? You're
I
one of
know.
those guys.
I'm tied to it because, Christopher Reeves and the whole Superman. Charlie's a similar age.
See, that's your age. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're 47, right?
48.
48. So
Damn, you're old.
yeah, he's old.
I'll be 50 in a couple
looks
months.
good.
Man.
You know, we were at the so here's what we were going to do at the
believe
show.
I can't believe it.
What are you, 47?
6?
I just turned 42 yesterday. You 25? Little cat.
I just got my girlfriend involved in watching the Marvel series. So we watched Iron Man. So I'm a fan. Anybody who can overcome by like Spider-Man style. He's just a normal human who just works his way through it. I really like that idea.
That's my guy. Peter
But that's
Parker.
not a superhero. That's Elon Musk. He's not a superhero. He's just smart with a lot of money.
Spider-Man. Who? What? Were you
What?
not talking about Spider-Man?
Well, Spider-Man and Iron Man are both just
Oh, you're
normal
talking about Iron
people
Man,
that
okay.
have special tech.
Don't say that Spider-Man's normal because he would kick Superman's ass. What do you
Hardly,
think,
no.
Charlie?
No.
It's possible. I mean, I got away from Marvel a long time ago, but when I was younger, I did like Aquaman.
Hmm.
It was impressive to me.
That's a pretty cool
Yeah.
guy.
So after that, I was just like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I just got away from it all.
But you didn't go to DC after that, did you?
No.
Okay. That's good to hear that. See, I'm a Marvel guy through and through. I think they were more creative.
Who's Marvel?
Stan Lee,
Yeah, but what characters? Hulk,
Spider-Man, Hulk. I mean, all the good ones.
Captain America.
But see, you grew up in that age where Christopher Reeves was the man.
yeah.
Because that was the only game in town. You had that ghetto 70s Spider-Man thing where he was like running through the streets with an outfit on. I don't know if you remember, that was bad. Then the Incredible Hulk was good, but pretty bad
Yeah.
as far as special effects go. But yeah, so you're saying it would be Aquaman.
It would be Aquaman for me. I mean, I see why people get into it. Just after a while, you just lose interest. And that was kind of me. It's kind of like wrestling for me. I was all gung ho about it when I was younger. And then I got to a certain point. I was just like,
Do you wrestle? How old were you?
no, I didn't wrestle. I just,
Wrestling, WWF.
Yes,
Back
WWF.
then it was
back
WWF.
then,
Who was your guy then?
I mean, I was Hulk Hogan all
Yeah,
day.
he was, yeah.
And of course,
Superfly Snuka.
You had Superfly that was there. Who was it? A Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
Dog, that's right.
George Animal Still eat the turnbuckle.
Who?
Remember
Yes,
George
I do.
Animal?
Yeah, but I
He would
remember
eat the turnbuckle.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, he had hair on my back. My hair on his.
You gotta remember how young he is. He
Yeah, maybe
that.
Yeah, because at the time, Punky Brewster was huge. I didn't like to tell people I was mad that I'd have to go to gymnastics or who knows what my mom had me in, but I missed Punky Brewster specifically. And
Hmm.
I know, Cat's laughing. I would hate that. I wouldn't. Now I'm like in touch with all that stuff. Now that I've grown up. Back then, I wouldn't tell anybody about it.
My brother
So you were disappointed about the remake getting canceled?
Of Punky?
Yeah, they were trying to redo Punky Brewster.
With Salil Moon Fry still?
They were bringing the original characters
Shut
back.
up.
They were. And I think they were taping and maybe they made it through a couple of episodes and then they actually canceled it. So I know they were disappointed. I just remember because it was a good friend of mine was in the show. And she's actually from Pittsburgh. So she was actually in there and they were redoing the movie and she was going through it. And then I just seen something that she tweeted out that she actually.
What year was
they
that, you
canceled.
think?
Ooh, I don't
Man, I'll
the remake, they were just doing it as early as 2019, as far as the remake.
I'll have to look it up because I had a super crush on Salil Moon Fry. The fact that I even remember her name, right? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, that's her, man.
Never
Salil
even
Moon
seen
Fry.
it.
Yeah, she dated Edward Furlong from Terminator. Remember him?
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was weird. I was kind of mad at him for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Cat gets mad when we have women walk in the office that look at me weird, right?
Well, if they decided to pick up the episodes again, we'll go down to the taping of the show and then be able to see it.
Oh my God, Charlie! If you could
The
get
last time when they were doing a remake of it, they were actually doing it in LA.
if I could hug Salil Moon Fry and get a picture. Are you kidding me? It's Punky Brewster.
Wow.
I know.
That would be like meeting Spider-Man. Huh. That's pretty wild.
Dexter is your Spider-Man.
She's my Spider-Man. So we have a big meeting coming in today. We're going to cut this one short. You have anything you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to ask Charlie a football question.
Yeah.
Can I? You guys talk football at all?
Yeah, we did. We started off with Steeler talk.
All right. So we're at the time of this taping, we're coming up on first game of the season, right? It's next weekend. And so where I'm thinking is you have these college athletes were at the top of their game their entire life. They were, for the most part, the best on almost any team that they've been on. They get drafted, they make the team. And so game one, they went through all preseason, they saw some professional competition. When they get into game one, is there another level up in terms of the speed and the intensity that they've seen that they haven't seen yet?
There absolutely is. And a lot of it comes down because preseason is one thing. A lot of the starters aren't actually playing. Right. So you don't really see the speed of it at that point. So when you get to, it's eye-opening preseason game one, preseason game three, they're like, oh, okay, it's the game's starting to slow down. And then ultimately when you get to that regular season, some of those guys, if they're not starters, they're standing on the sideline. They're literally like, wow, like I didn't expect it to be that fast. And some of those rookies, they get eye-open. Right. They're eye shocked because of that. And then ultimately, as the season kind of goes on, you can see the game starting to slow down for them. And I think a lot of that comes down to is mainly quarterbacks, because sometimes when you get that sense of I'm not getting hit in practice, and then all of a sudden you hold on to that ball a split second longer, you're getting toted. Yeah. Like, oh, that's going to hurt in the morning, right? That's still you live and learn in those situations. So, it just depends on the position that can kind of determine a lot of that. But to be surprising, when you go from preseason to regular season, it actually goes into another speed once you get to the postseason. Yeah. So there are 3 levels of speed to this.
Yeah.
So you made me think of something. So you were there when Antonio Brown was there, right?
Right.
I'm telling you, when he got hit, that one hit, that's when his whole life changed. So you and I have had concussions we've dealt with, right? Changes who you are a little bit. If you get pressure on one little part, it can affect all kinds of things. But he was pretty normal before he got clocked. And then after that's when he ran into all those problems.
I wouldn't put it directly on that particular hit. Maybe that was the hit that took it over the top.
Yeah.
But every player, it's like every play you go on, it's like a car accident every single time. And in some cases, it could be a train wreck when you look back on just the collisions that are being made. That's why you go back to the point of safety of the game, making sure from a helmet perspective that, is cushiony as possible to make sure it's eliminating some of those head risks. And then ultimately, making sure whatever other padding that you have on your body that can actually get you through it. So it's important when you talk about, being prepared, talking about being recovery piece, and ultimately making sure you get your sleep at night. Yeah. Your body has to go through it. So it's going to be really interesting this year to see, because it's something that we've never seen. So we're all going to witness this together. You eliminate one preseason game, you add a regular season game onto this. No player has ever played a 17-game regular season like this. So we're going to see if bodies can kind of adapt to it. But either way, they have to get ready for it because they're pretty much locked into the 2030 season.
Now, why'd they do that?
More money.
Yeah.
No, ultimately comes down to money.
Yeah.
So they seen an opportunity to capitalize off of it, and we'll see if the players are, quite frankly, ready for this.
I get the money part, but then they're hurting their money makers, right? Because the injuries got to go through the roof towards the end of the season.
Well, I think it depends on your position. If you're, a receiver, that's more opportunities. You barely can hit the receivers now. But if you're a running back and you add an extra game to this, and you got to get to the point of now a contract extension in 3 years, that's 3 extra games that you have to play. That's a wear and tear on your body. So that can be an additional 30 rushing attempts for a player. That's 90. That's close to 100 touches that guy could potentially get hurt. So, a lot of this all kind of comes down to play. But, either way, this is why we play the game. We understand the dangers of it. And you got to make sure that you hopefully minimize those risks, but also taking care of your body. And hopefully these guys can go out there and have a lengthy career.
See, I like what you said right there, because if I could just say to my Dad, when I used to catch punts and run directly out of bounds so that I didn't get hit, I'm here today because of it.
Well, you also understand that a lot of athletes, young athletes, are made into basketball or baseball players, meaning that first hit they get when they get up, right away, I want to do this or I don't.
Good point.
And if you don't, I'm going to play basketball or I'm going to play baseball or maybe run track. So it turns athletes into other sports because, just the manner of the way that this game is played.
That's a good answer. All right. Kat, anything?
Happy to be here.
Kat's happy to be here. I love having you here, Kat.
I love being here.
All right, that's 3 Jags and Lab. Next time, what we're going to do is we're going to get a 4th camera. We're actually going to have the Jag spot where we sit someone in the hot spot and we throw questions at them. They have no idea what's coming, right? You like that, Mark?
I love that.
I like that too. What do you think, Charlie?
I like it.
I like it.
Let's do it.
We'll get Mike from Facebook up here.
I'm a little hesitant about
All right. See ya.